Welcome to This Explainer. We're diving straight into one of the most common yet deeply misunderstood mysteries of pet ownership. Seriously, if you have a cat, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Why on earth does your cat insist on walking all over you in the middle of the night, often stepping right on your face? Well, today we're going to decode exactly what your cat is trying to tell you the second those lights go out.
So why do they always step on your face? You probably think they're just being annoying, right? Or maybe that they have absolutely zero spatial awareness. But we're going to completely reframe this behavior today. We're going to decode the primal instincts, the hidden sensory superpowers, and honestly, the deeply emotional reasons behind this midnight stroll. Because if you react the wrong way to this, you might actually be sending the entirely wrong message back to your pet. Okay, to understand this, we first have to look at how your cat actually perceives you at night. When you go to sleep, the house goes dark and your cat loses all the normal visual cues they usually rely on. You stop moving, you stop talking, you stop reacting. To a cat, you've basically gone offline. And to a predator with deeply ingrained wild instincts, a motionless companion suddenly becomes a massive cause for concern. It literally triggers a primal survival check.
Now, that survival check has very specific targets. Think about it. Why the chest, the throat, or the face? Why not just stand next to you on the mattress? Well, because those are the exact spots where your breathing and your body heat are the most obvious. Your cat is stepping on your chest to feel it rise, and they're walking near your face to catch the warmth of your breath. See, out in the wild, sleeping next to an animal that suddenly stops moving is a major threat. They're just confirming you're still alive and that they're still safe.
But, this behavior isn't just about survival. It's actually also about ownership, which brings us to the scent reset. Your cat is secretly marking you as their exclusive property. It's true. You see, cats have these invisible scent glands hidden right inside their squishy little paw pads. Every single time they step on your skin, your pajamas, or your blanket, they're leaving behind a completely unique chemical signature.
So why is this nighttime marking so urgent? Well, think about your day. You take a shower, you commute, you hug other people, maybe you even pet another dog or cat. By the time you finally crash into bed, the scent your cat so carefully placed on you the night before, it's been completely erased. So every step they take across your body is just biology's way of renewing the lease. Pressing their paws into you is basically them saying, yep, this one's mine. And actually, researchers at the University of Lincoln found that cats in multi-pet households do this way more often. The competition just makes this marking instinct highly urgent.
And this next point brilliantly illustrates their hidden sensory superpower. Human hearing, it generally taps out at around 20,000 hertz. But a cat's hearing, it reaches incredible frequencies, all the way up to 64,000 hertz. Have you ever been dead asleep and suddenly your cat is just standing on your chest, wide-eyed, staring at a closed door with absolutely no warning? They aren't just being paranoid. They are reacting to a frequency that you completely missed. While you're fast asleep, a part of your cat's brain is still actively scanning the environment. They're picking up sounds in that 64,000 hertz world that literally do not exist to you. We're talking about a water pipe shifting behind the drywall, or maybe a raccoon taking a single step in the yard 2 rooms away, or even just the fridge compressor quietly clicking on. A study in the journal Animal Cognition even confirmed that cats distinguish between familiar and unfamiliar sounds while resting. They are never fully off.
So the really crucial point here is how they react to those hidden sounds. When they hear something suspicious, their instinct isn't to go cower under the bed. No, their instinct is to immediately seek out the safest elevated surface in the room so they can assess the situation. And in the pitch black of your bedroom, guess what? You are the highest, warmest, and most familiar surface available. They are literally climbing on you just to get a better vantage point.
And speaking of you being the warmest surface around, let's talk about body heat. A cat's normal resting body temperature sits between 38 and 39 degrees Celsius. That's a few degrees hotter than ours. And because they run so hot, they burn through their body heat much faster than we do, especially in the middle of the night when the sun goes down and the house temperature drops.
This constant need for heat completely explains all that nighttime pacing. It's not random wandering at all. It's actually a highly calculated thermal map procedure. First, they walk slowly across your legs. Then, they pause on your stomach. Next, they shift up to your chest before finally settling down. Through those sensitive pads on their paws, they're literally comparing the temperature of different zones of your body to find your hottest core areas. Your core generates the most heat, and trust me, they figured that out a long time ago.
You've probably also noticed that this behavior intensifies dramatically in the winter. Now, it's not because your cat suddenly gets a massive surge of affection for you in December. It's simply because of the winter heat gap. As the ambient temperature of your house drops, the gap between the cold room and their natural body heat gets way bigger. That makes you an incredibly valuable radiating heat source. You're basically a giant breathing space heater.
But what happens when the clock strikes 5 a.m.? Well, this is when we encounter their biological prime time. Cats are crepuscular. That's a biological wiring, meaning they are most naturally active and energized at dawn and dusk. So right when you're enjoying the deepest, most restorative part of your sleep cycle, your cat is waking up with a very specific agenda.
And I'm sure you guessed it, part of that agenda is usually breakfast. Cats possess incredibly accurate internal clocks. A fascinating study from the University of Zurich actually found that cats can anticipate their feeding times with shocking accuracy, sometimes narrowing it down to just a 15-minute window. If breakfast is normally at 6 a.m. and they start walking on your face at 5:45, that is absolutely not a coincidence. That's a highly planned, calculated food campaign to make sure you don't oversleep. But what if it's not food? Well, then it's almost certainly the boredom trap. If your cat hasn't burned off enough physical and mental energy during the day, all that leftover fuel just kicks in right when you're trying to sleep. And here's where most owners make a critical mistake. If you get up to feed them or play with them just to make the meowing stop, you aren't solving the problem. You're actually training them. You're teaching them that walking on your face at 5 a.m. yields immediate positive results.
Okay, now we reach the true climax of our midnight mystery. Beyond the survival checks, the scent marking, and the thermal mapping, there is a deeply, deeply emotional reason your cat keeps choosing you as their landing spot at 3 in the morning. And it's a reason that dates all the way back to their earliest days of kittenhood.
If your cat walks onto your chest and starts doing that slow, rhythmic pushing motion with their paws, what we affectionately call making biscuits, you are witnessing something really profound. When kittens are born, they instinctively knead against their mother's belly to stimulate the flow of milk. It's literally one of the very first survival behaviors they ever learn, and that brain circuitry, it never fades away.
So when your adult cat climbs on top of you in the dark and begins kneading your stomach or chest, their brain is literally replaying the closest thing they have to a cherished childhood memory. In that quiet moment, your physical warmth, the steady rhythm of your breathing, and the gentle thumping of your heartbeat all combine to replicate the absolute safest place they have ever known. They do this on you because, to them, you feel like mom.
Which brings us to a fascinating conclusion for this explainer. If a seemingly annoying nighttime stroll across your face is actually this complex, beautiful mix of primal survival, thermal mapping, ultrasonic hearing, and profound maternal bonding, it begs a much larger question. What other secret languages are our pets speaking while we sleep, completely unnoticed by us? The next time you feel those little paws in the dark, remember, it's not an annoyance, it's communication. So keep observing and keep learning.